Woodward Sports Network, we are very excited. Lions rookies get to camp on Wednesday. The veterans report on Saturday, and then they go. NFL training camp on Sunday. Less than 1 week away and a couple of days away for the rookies. Let's bring them in. Covers the Lions for SI.com, on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. The great John Doc Maakaron. Hey, Doc, how you doing, buddy?
Hey, Doc.
Man, I am pumped up. Summer was great. The last 6 weeks have been fun for me personally, but I'm ready to cover football training camp this weekend. I can't wait.
Yeah, it does feel like Christmas morning a little bit for guys in this business. I mean, when I'll speak for myself. The last 3 months have been fairly miserable. I mean, you're just dying to talk about football because that's what carries everybody's interest. And here we are. What are you looking for, Doc, when you show up to camp? Is there one guy you're gonna put your focus on first initially? Who are you gonna be writing about?
Yeah, two, obviously. I think that rookie Jack Campbell is going to be one of the targets early, being that the Lions said that he hasn't really earned his starter's job. So I want to see how he competes, knowing that the coaching staff is monitoring everything that he's doing, knowing that he puts a lot of pressure on himself. I think that he's going to be eventually the captain of that defense. I want to see how aggressive and nasty he plays. And just like everybody else, I want to see how Jameson Williams has attacked this summer. Like everybody has seen on social media, he does look bulkier. He does look like a player that's running crisper routes. I want to see the chemistry that he has with Jared Goff and just how he has approached this offseason, because obviously when he's going to be away for 6 weeks, a lot of outside noise has permeated this young player. Now I want to see what he does on the field with extended reps with Jared Goff in that first team offense.
And this training camp is huge for him. Last year, he did not get a camp at all. Obviously, suspended for the first 6 games this year. But this next, 6 weeks or so of work that he's going to be able to put in for the Detroit Lions until the season starts is huge, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, there's been a lot of talk regarding the media coverage of Jameson Williams, the things that he's done off the field. And quite frankly, I'm glad that his dad came out and spoke and really put out there at the recent youth camp that Jameson ran that he understands what's going on. He understands that there's going to be a certain level of attention placed on his son. He is a first-round draft selection. The Lions traded up, made an investment to select this young player. And a lot of the headlines have been for things away from the field. And I think it's going to be incumbent on Jameson Williams to make a lot of the headlines on the field. And trust me, guys, at all Lions and all the other sites, you guys included, if Jameson Williams makes plays, shows out, plays well with Jared Goff, has a connection, we are going to report on it. So it is very important for this young wide receiver to make a lot of plays at training camp, to look like he has chemistry, to look like he has understood what has been given to him, the very solid responsibility that he's been given, especially probably he's going to be eventually the number 2 wide receiver behind Amon-Ra St. Brown this year. So I do believe that he's going to actually use the coverage that he's had, some of the negativity, as motivation to show out this year.
Talking to Doc Maakaron, covers the Lions for SI.com, on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Doc, big picture question, just as we get ready to head to camp this week, towards the end of the week. This feels like, however you want to characterize it, the biggest Detroit Lions season in nearly 30 years. How are the players, how's the organization going to handle a season, do you believe, with all these expectations? We have not seen this kind of excitement, not in any year that Matthew Stafford was here, not obviously. You could go back 25, 30 years. We haven't seen a season as highly anticipated as this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited. Probably the most excited that I've been to be around this football team with elevated expectations. The expectation is that this football team this year will win the division, host a home playoff game. It's inconceivable to me, really, that since that building at Ford Field has been open, there has not been a home playoff game for this passionate fan base to support the team. So here's the thing, guys. Dan Campbell is a masterful motivator. And despite the success that they did have last year, winning 8 of their last 10 games, they did not make the postseason. And they all know it. They all feel it. They didn't get really nothing accomplished last year by not making the postseason. So Dan Campbell, first thing he's going to talk to them about is, look, you can read all of your headlines, but in all actuality, when the things that people care about the most, what you did in the playoffs, you weren't there. And this football team is going to use that as motivation. Obviously, this is a team that has been constructed with a bunch of gritty, young football players that have the right makeup, using all things that they need to motivate themselves to play well, to prove people wrong. I mean, you have rankings come out, and I heard your guys' discussion. Jared Goff, after what he accomplished last year, is not included as a top 10 quarterback. Look, right now, it's safe to say he's better than Trevor Lawrence working with Ben Johnson. So you look at what these Lions are about, and they're not going to say it publicly, but they do understand what's being said about them, and they're going to come out here this year and look to prove everybody wrong. And what a beautiful opening contest to show everybody what they've learned to start the year against Kansas City.
Hey, Doc, a great finish last year. We all know 8-2 to finish the season, but you can't bring that with you here. It's unfortunate. Last year they hit the peak, man, because if they made the playoffs last year, they would have been trouble. They didn't. So here we are this year. Exit DeAndre Swift. Exit Jamal Williams. Enter David Montgomery. Enter Jahmyr Gibbs. Better running game now, or questions still?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a better running game. And here's the thing. What the Lions were looking for, and when they did the self-scout, Ben Johnson said, look, when we reviewed the plays that we called, there was meat left on the bone. Extra yards could have been accomplished, meaning that they saw Jamal Williams run behind a talented offensive line, maybe secure 3 to 4 yards. But the play design, really, with 1 or 2 extra missed tackles, could have produced 8 or 9 yards. So I think that when you get a home run threat like Jahmyr Gibbs, when you get a running back like David Montgomery, who has been shown the reason why the Lions coveted him and were willing to give him an elevated free agent contract was his toughness, his physical running style. And they look and they say, and this is no disrespect and no slight to Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift, but if they say, look, if Jamal Williams can get 1,000 yards running behind this line, what can Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery accomplish? And it's going to be big things. And that's why early in the year, I think they're going to count on that run game to do a lot of early touches for Montgomery and Gibbs, and it'll pay off in spades.
All right, fill in the blank, Doc. Jahmyr Gibbs will account for blank yards from scrimmage.
I think early on, look for him to be used a lot in the passing game. I think you see what Brad Holmes and everybody sees in him, an offensive weapon. So I think he accomplishes at least 900 yards in total running and receiving yards. And I think that he'll acclimate himself quite well early on. You realize the coaching staff wants him to play physical. They want him to break tackles, and they want him to be one of the options that will be replacing Jameson Williams. You need, obviously, one of the big question marks going into training camp is who are going to be the offensive weapons behind Amon-Ra St. Brown. And you realize Sam Laporta, young tight end that's going to get a lot of touches, but also Jahmyr Gibbs. I don't think they're going to wait around for Jahmyr Gibbs to develop. They're going to give him a lot of targets, and you expect him with Ben Johnson, and one of his great talents is to scheme open talented players. Guys, buy into the hype. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to produce. You're not going to invest a first-round pick in a player that you don't think is going to come out here right away. And Brad Holmes has a lot to prove because you did move on from DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams, who were productive. But by all accounts, they did upgrade, and Jahmyr Gibbs is going to produce and produce often in this offense.
Hey, Doc, I wanted to go back to Goff for a minute. And you know, the list comes out today with the current NFL executives and coaches and scouts and everything. Goff's honorable mention wasn't on any votes last year. This year made the list for 25% of people that sent the questionnaire back to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. we've been trying to replace this guy ever since he got here. Is it conceivable that he is the long-term solution for this franchise? And that 29 touchdown to 7 interception, that 29 to 7 touchdown interception ratio, can that be duplicated, exceeded? What do you make of Jared Goff this year? And the chances that he backs up and runs back the season that he had last year, if not improves upon it.
Yeah, and it's real interesting to see how the national media will view a player like Jared Goff. They kind of want to see him prove it again. But look, Jared Goff has had successful years in the past, a quarterback that has taken teams deep in the postseason. You hear what Brad Holmes thinks about Jared Goff in regards to his toughness. Recently at All Lines, we wrote about, what some of the execs have said in regards to really when you saw what were some of the issues that Goff had, it was standing in the face of the blitz and being effective. Well, last year, they targeted that. This coaching staff does not shy away from criticizing their players behind the scenes. And Jared Goff, one of his big issues early in the season was turnovers and being a little bit more stout in the pocket, facing pressure. And he was accepting of the criticism, and he was willing to work on it and showcased improvement. Now, you look at it this year, working with Ben Johnson, working with this offense, I expect Jared Goff to easily surpass 30 touchdowns and to limit his interceptions. They may be higher early on as he takes some chances working out with the new wide receivers and without Jamison Williams. I could see elevated interception numbers, but he's still going to be productive because of the fact that the defense is improved. So, yes, if Jared Goff does indeed lead this football team to the playoffs, the big contract is coming. Brad Holmes, the entire organization, really see a player in Jared Goff, and I know it's not publicly talked about, but I'll say it. This is a tough football player that took a lot of hits last year, took a lot of hits his first year, and didn't complain, didn't go down the rabbit hole of chirping at the media when they were criticizing him his first year, came back last year, worked harder, and moved this offense to play a lot better. So in essence, this player, Jared Goff, embodies what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell want. A player that was really considered a cast-off, a throw-in in the trade, but worked hard, kept his nose in the notebook and figured things out, and has a coordinator that tailored an offense to suit his needs. So if he leads this football team to a home playoff win, maybe even a potential deep run, $40+ million is coming to Jared Goff. And that's an ultimate motivator for this young cat, is to prove everybody wrong and to potentially, and it could happen because NFL teams covet quarterbacks. He could reset the market and even top 50 million in the neighborhood of Lamar Jackson. If he can get this Lions football team, something they haven't accomplished in decades, why wouldn't you pay it?
Because you have a rookie behind him that you've invested a pick in that probably could have been a first-round pick in Hendon Hooker. So what I say is, even if he gets him to the playoffs, Doc, just my opinion, I don't know if you have to pay him right away.
Look, Maz, and here's the thing. I know everybody loves draft picks and things like that, but part of my vacation has been sitting and enjoying being outside, but I also took in all 8 episodes of Quarterback on Netflix, and they really, in one episode, highlighted just how intricate it is to learn an NFL offense with play calls, with adjusting protections. It's not as easy as it looks to go out there, and Hendon Hooker is going to have the world thrown at him right now. You think he's going to grasp Ben Johnson's complicated offense within 12 months? No, I don't think so. I think Jared Goff, with his experience, with everything that he's got going on, we do need to pay close attention to and give credit to Jared Goff for being able to succeed in this offense. It's not easy. The reads, the route trees, the protections that these quarterbacks have to be aware of, knowing what's coming at them. Jared Goff has handled it and proven he can handle it consistently. Rookies coming in, there's no guarantee that they're going to come in right away and handle everything. You saw Peyton Manning, his first season, throw double-digit interceptions. They take their time, and the odds say that Hendon Hooker will not be successful. So if you have somebody that proves it, there's no way you let him walk out the door. I think the fan base would revolt.